And when I say believe in yourself, I mean you have to understand that motivation doesn't move you. Dedication doesn't move you. Only thing that moves you is movement.
Welcome to Healthier Me, a show that highlights the health journey of everyday individuals in Saginaw who have chosen to take the steps to be well. I'm your host, Alexandria, and today Abraham White joins me in the studio. Abraham is what you call a medical miracle. As someone who has always been athletic and strong, Abraham has undergone almost 20 surgeries, including being in a medically induced coma and being revived twice. Yet somehow he finds his way back to doing what he loves, and that's training others in their health journey. Thank you so much for joining me, Abraham.
Glad to be here.
Or can I say Abe?
Abe is fine.
Okay, I'm going to go with Abe. So before we start and get into the conversation, I just have to say we already know each other.
Yes, for a while.
We've known each other for some years now. And it was because during the pandemic, decided to go to Coops. Somebody invited me, went to Coops, and I realized this was the place I needed to be at. And like I said, it was during the pandemic. Other gyms were closed. This one wasn't. I came, and then after a few months, we would just say hi. And then he helped me one day, but we never gave each other names. Somehow I came across their Facebook and I saw the bodybuilding. And I was like, oh my God, I need to reach out to him. I saw him at the gym. And then ever since then, got the training. And I want to say that was the best time of my life, training. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
You whipped me into shape, literally. So let people know why they should stick around and listen to your story.
Well, the main reason is because, like she said, I am a walking testimony, a walking miracle when it comes to multiple surgeries and medical issues that most people would have sat down and stopped living their lives. It's just been a journey, and it really started maybe 8-10 years ago where it got real drastic. And I just kept hearing, don't give up and don't stop, so I never did.
And we're going to get into that. Of course, I always like to kind of go back and just kind of learn about the person before we get into more of their health and things like that. So one characteristic that sticks out to me when it comes to you is that stubbornness. It's that sheer determination to keep pushing. So what early memory do you have in your childhood or just over the years where that came to be, where you just was so determined to keep going?
I think it came from not having a father in my life because I grew up not really trusting or liking me, and so I really didn't ever have anybody to turn to. And being the youngest in the family, I was always the leader. So I've always had to push, be that shoulder, hold everybody else up. So it always showed me that I can handle most anything that came in my life. So that's just the attitude I picked up and kept.
Even as the youngest child, I mean, you would think that would be the oldest child who would feel like that, maybe?
Nope, it was always me.
So are you the youngest of what?
I'm the youngest of 10.
Oh, wow.
But biologically 3 stepbrothers and sisters, the 7. Wow. And I'm the youngest on both ends.
And since then, it's just stubborn and determined.
I don't call it stubborn. I just call it highly focused.
I like that. Yeah. I was trying to find another word, but stubborn just kept coming to my mind.
Because that's what you've always told me.
Okay, so highly focused.
It's highly focused.
I can definitely see that for sure. So talk to me about little Abe. I didn't know you were one of 10 or just the youngest on each side, but I know that you played sports when you were younger, football, track. So what was the enjoyment aspect a part of those when you were a part of those teams? Why did you decide to join?
For me, it was an aggression release because I was a very angry child. And just growing up now in hindsight and looking back, I realized it was because my father wasn't in my life. My mother, yes, she did the best she could, but she wasn't my father. So I started building up a lot of aggression toward men. And then most times there was hurt or lies in my life. It came from a man. So I just started pulling away and just learning to be me for me. So
Expound on that, being you for you.
Well, oh, wow. Okay. So my parents, I literally was playing football all the way up into my 10th or 11th grade, and my parents didn't even know. My mother didn't know. Well, let me rephrase that. My father knew, but my mother didn't know. Okay. My mother didn't know because she didn't want me playing sports because one of her brothers got hurt real bad playing sports. So I was sneaking playing sports from the 6th grade all the way to the 11th grade. My father found out when I was in the 10th grade, but nobody ever came to see me play. Everybody else's parents and fathers were cheering me on and edible-ing me. Nobody in my family came to watch me play football. Brothers, sisters, nobody.
And did your siblings know? Because I know you just said your mother
Yeah, they
didn't.
knew, but nobody ever came to support or anything. Wow. So it was always Abraham for Abraham. So everything I done, I made it focus on what I needed and what I needed to push my life and grow.
Wow, that is so... I've been hearing in previous conversations that I've had with individuals, we get into that childhood and it's like, oh, my parent didn't know. And I'm just like, how didn't they know?
Well, for me, my mother didn't know because she thought I was just hanging out with friends. Mm-hmm. Because most times after football practice, I would end up going to a friend of mine's house. Okay. So that's what she just thought I was the whole time. And then when their parents got off work or it was time for me to go home, they would bring me home. So she just thought that's where I was. And that's why I said I was sneaking, because she didn't want me to play football out of fear of me being hurt, not just because she was just totally against it. So I understood her. But how I got in football, we were playing pickup football, or I can't say what we used to call it, so I'm going to leave it at pickup. And I was at the middle school, and it was the summertime, and the coach just happened to be there. And we was all on the field playing with no pads, but we were playing tackle football at the time. And he said, you need to get on the football team. And I'm like, dude, I don't know who you are. Get out of my face, because that's just how I was toward men. And in all honesty, his name was Coach James, and he was the first man I ever trusted. And that was in the 7th grade, and he talked me into playing. And I was good at it, and I just fell in love with it, and it just went from there. And I realized it got the aggression out of me, and it kept me out of trouble, and it made me concentrate on my grades. Because before that, I didn't care. I was passing, but I didn't care. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I'm also kind of hearing that highly focused person. Yeah. You became even more focused.
Yep. It started at a young age for me.
So I know you said 10th grade, your father found out, 11th. So did your mom find out when you became a senior?
No, my mom found out when I was in 11th grade because I twisted my ankle so bad that the coach had to bring me home for football practice. She freaked out a little bit, but the coach, he talked to her and explained to her blah, blah, blah about it. And after he left, she fussed at me, and I told her I loved it, and it was something that kept me out of trouble. So she was okay with it, but she still never came to watch me play. And I'm just believing in my heart that it'll just out of fear of her being there, something happened. Yeah. So, but yeah.
I could only imagine. Parents, right?
Yes. Yeah. And to be one now.
But we take those moments and those experiences, and then I feel like we try to do better for our kids.
Yes, yes, definitely.
For them and not raise them in fear or survival. So, okay, so we see this highly focused Abraham in high school. He's playing sports. So after that, where do you make the transition to decide to join the military? Or did you keep going with football?
Well, I went to Texas Southern on scholarship, but I blew my knee out. And I was scared to have surgery. So I lost my scholarship. Well, then I ended up moving to Mobile, Alabama, and meeting a recruiter in the mall. she talked me into going in the military. So, and at first I was just gonna go in the Army Reserves, and she was like, "No, your ASVAB score is too high." So she talked me going active duty, and I really believe that that's what totally changed my life, was going in the military, because it gave me that discipline that I lacked, the direction, and something to look forward to. So, yeah.
Okay, so blew your knee out. This is when now we're starting to kind of get through some health issues. And I know even in the military, it's even more strenuous on our body.
Yes.
You know, so talk about that for a minute. Anybody who's watching and listening, there are like different restrictions being in the military as far as your weight, as far as physical. Talk about that.
Okay, so when I came in the military, I was always, like I said, I was always a person that worked out, but I never lifted weights.
Okay.
For me, working out, I was doing push-ups, pull-ups, and running. So going to basic training, doing push-ups was a way they, per se, punished you or dealt with you when you done something wrong. It didn't do anything for me because I was already doing 100+ push-ups within 2 minutes. So they didn't too much like that, so they tried to do other things, such as having me run, which really didn't do anything either because I was already in shape. So, but then when I got active duty, in order to take a PT test for the military, your weight is based on your height. And according to the military, at 5'9", a male is supposed to be somewhere between 185, 195. Well, I was at 260 something.
Oh, wow.
So every 3 months, I had to go do what they call a tape test for your weight. Well, I was at 260 something or nothing but pretty much muscle. I had like 8% body fat, if that. And so it was just an ongoing thing for the entire time I was in the military, that I had to go get taped every 3 months, to a point where the medical staff started calling me fat boy. And they was like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Well, they told me I had to come do this tape test." And one of the NCOs, she was like, "Just come to me from now on and I'll just sign the paperwork, because there's no way you're overweight fat-wise."
Yeah.
So, but the way I got into lifting weights was a guy that I met in the military in basic training. He just would not leave it alone. And he kept bugging me to come lift with him. Well, it just so happened that we was in basic training together, AIT together, and ended up getting stationed at the same permanent duty station.
Yeah.
So for almost a year and a half, he bugged me to come in the weight room. So when I finally decided to go, is because he told me, if I go, I'll buy you food. After we work out,
food.
And I love food. I love
food
to
too.
eat. So I went, but as soon as I walked in there and picked up the weight, I fell in love with it, and I've never set it down.
What year was that, or how old were you?
I was 22 years old when that happened. Okay. And I believe it was in 91 or 92.
So I want to go back to kind of military and being taped, because I remember those moments too. I was also in the military, but that was not a good experience for me. Like, I was like, I don't know, it played on my mental. Did it do that for you? I mean, and then them calling you fat boy, like.
No, and the fat boy thing came from the medical staff, not my unit.
Okay.
So, and they were just messing with me because most people that have to get taped are out of shape, overweight. Well, like I said, mine was muscles, and I was doing 115 push-ups in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So I kept a 300 score, which is the highest score you can get on a PT test in the military every time I took it. So them telling me I had to get taped, it had no effect on me. I just thought it was stupid, because I'm like, you can look at me and see it's not fat, and my PT score should tell you that I'm nowhere near being out of shape.
Yeah.
But it was their regulation, so it's what had to be done.
I do think some of those regulations need to change.
I believe they have, actually.
Okay.
Yep, I believe they have.
I'm like, that's
So
kind of ridiculous.
yeah.
But to be, what, you said 260, and like the standard was almost 180?
185, 190,
Like,
yes.
that is so crazy.
Yep. I was almost 100 pounds over.
Yeah. And it's just muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also kind of like points out to people out there, there's other people who are just maybe just look bigger, but I think the conversation around obesity, because Saginaw County does rank really high with obesity rates, but I think the conversation needs to be around your body mass index
Yes, it
or
does.
body fat. And I don't think we're having conversations around that at all.
Because the obesity tests they use or charts they use, they haven't been changed since the 1960s or earlier. And they didn't take in consideration people that exercise. People that exercise tend to eat more, which is going to put more weight on you, but is it healthy weight? And that's the difference. They're just looking at a number.
Yeah.
Because every time I've been into a brand new doctor's office, and I think I've told you this before, they will walk in, look at me, stop, and go back out the door, and then come back in. Excuse me. So eventually, after it kept happening, I ended up asking the doctor why. They said, because we're looking at the weight on your medical records, and we're thinking we're coming in here to see somebody obese, out of shape, that we got to talk to about losing weight or having diabetes and all this such stuff, that the medical issues that come with being obese. And then we look in to see you. So we're trying to make sure we're in the right room. I said, well, you're in the right room, sir. But yeah, and that's the problem with it, because your weight does not dictate your health. It just affects your health.
Expound on that.
Because
expound on that one.
I had a client. He was 400 pounds. And everybody thought he would have heart issues and diabetes. He had none. He was overweight due to something that happened to him medically.
Gotcha.
Well, then myself, my weight would say that I have a point toward all kind of diabetes, high blood pressures, joint issues. And the only reason why I have joint issues is from the military, wear and tear. Yeah. So your weight doesn't dictate your health. It just affects your health. Because, yes, granted, somebody at 5'2" and they 300 pounds, and sooner or later, that's going to start giving you joint issues and maybe lower back issues. But as far as you having heart issues or things of those nature that people relate to being obese or overweight, it's not always true, because you see a big person.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have people in the gym that they would say that they were quote unquote fat or overweight, but they work out every day. But they work out so they can eat the way they want to eat, but they know working out is going to burn it off mostly. So it doesn't make you unhealthy to be overweight, to a sense.
So how can somebody find out their body fat or something of that nature? What is there some type of thing that they can do? I know there was a machine at Coops when we went, but how can someone know?
One of the best ways, I cannot think of the technical name of it, but it's a water weight, where you go to a hospital or a doctor and they put you in a pool, and it takes in consideration your muscle mass, your height, your what's called brown fat in your body, visceral fat. It takes all that in consideration, and it measures your muscle mass compared to the weight of the water. Gotcha. And it's more accurate than anything that they have out there that I know of right now.
Okay.
Yep. And I cannot think of the name of the procedure, but if you want it done, just ask your doctor.
Ask your doctor. I need to ask my doctor about that one, because I haven't seen that one. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to know, because as you said, if I look at somebody or military wise, you weren't overweight, or I don't even know what to say about that, because technically you are, as far as numbers go, but body fat wise, you weren't.
Not even close.
So yeah, I think that's an interesting conversation. But yeah, so you get nicknamed Fat Boy. Oh, I hate that.
I always thought it was funny. So, I mean, and because when it's actually my email address also. Yeah. So when somebody asked me my email address, I was like, look, don't even ask, don't say. And so, I mean, and I think that's also a lot of reason why there's a large misconception with weight in America. Because in America, it costs you more to eat healthy than it does to eat junk. And it's total opposite in any other country. And I believe it's a major issue. But we are a microwave country. I want it now and not later.
I'm that way too, though.
We all are in some aspect of our life. We all are.
Yeah. No, but you are so right. And I was, again, we were having a conversation with another guest, and they were talking about food and how you can get filled up just eating whole foods.
Yes.
You know, you don't need to have that processed material, because it's really like material.
Yes, it is.
So you're now a double certified personal trainer and nutritionist.
Yep.
How's that
Personal
going?
trainer, nutritionist, strength and condition coach, life coach. So, yes.
Oh, so many titles.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So when did you know that you wanted to help and train people? What was the spark?
If I could say this, it was a godsend because I never wanted to do it.
Really?
No, because I didn't, number one, when I first started, I was a person that didn't want to hear you whining. I used to have the mindset of stop being lazy and get away from the table. And if my mindset was also, if you came to me and asked me to work out, I didn't want to hear nothing you was crying about. We're going to work out and get it done, because that's what I did to myself. But once I was directed to do it, it was more so I don't think I was a good teacher because of my patience. Because when I got certified, I had started already having some medical issues. And that was what really pushed me into learning about my body. Because I've never been a person that, regardless of your degrees, your titles, your position, I've never been a person to just take your word for face value. I researched it for myself to make sure what you were saying lined up, not only for what you were saying, but lined up for me. Because where people go wrong with the medical profession, they're practicing.
They're not doing?
They're practicing.
Yeah.
Meaning that they don't fully know how something is going to work with you. So if you don't know and understand you, anything can happen to you. Listening to medical professionals. And I'll say this, and I know she's not going to like this, but anytime I've ever been told I needed for surgery for something, I've always researched the surgery. Every procedure, every way that they've done the surgery. I watched videos, I've read, I've asked other doctors that I've trained or doctors that I just know from the gym. So I know when I go to the surgeon what I'm talking about and what I'm asking about and how it's going to affect me. My wife doesn't too much like it because she says it's scary and weird that you do that.
Yeah.
But it's just something I've always done, because I need an understanding. Your words mean nothing to me. I need to understand. If your words are not helping me understand, your words are no good to me.
You got to do the research on your own.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's kind of fascinating that you do the research, because sometimes that can make someone mentally kind of, I don't want to say go insane, but
Yes.
you know, it can make
and that's
them,
what she was scared of.
Yeah,
She was scared it's going to
overthinking.
put more stress on me. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually putting me more at ease because I know what to expect before, during, and after. To me, in my opinion, you not knowing what you're going into seems like it would make you go insane or stress out.
I can.
I know everybody's different, but for me, that was my reasoning and is my reasoning for doing what I do. But all in the same breath, in hindsight, because I am like that, it's made me hone my skills for what I'm certified to do. Because there has not been any person that has come to me to be trained or ask questions that I have not had an answer for or didn't know how to find the answer. Because of all the medical issues I've had and all the research and studying and reading and video watching and question answering.
Yeah. Well, I do want to bounce to a photo of you. I want to go to the surgery photo. That is you smiling, very high in spirit. Talk to me about that.
Well, that photo is actually, I was I think I was a day out of surgery when they took that photo. And what happened was I was in the hospital because I had a real bad asthma attack. And that was either the first or second time I had been placed in a medical induced coma. Well, of all places, I pass out at the hospital and I break my neck. I break my C3 and 4 and fractured my 5.
And you're like up and walking.
Yes.
That's fine. In the gym.
Yes.
How?
God. So I had surgery on my neck from breaking it in this photo. And I had already been in the hospital for, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks. And I was in a medical induced coma for 3 or 4 days. And when I came out the coma, I was sitting, getting medication, and went to stand up and just passed out, blacked out. And next thing I know, they're telling me I have to have neck surgery now. So, yeah, that was a day or two after my neck surgery after coming out of a coma.
Kudos to God for allowing you to still be up and at it, still training, still going. I mean, training others, but you're also training yourself because you still work out. So to have gone through all of that trauma, how has your body been able to recover so quickly? Is it because you've always worked out for years?
Well, it's funny you asked that because when I was in college, I was in anatomy and physiology class, which is weird that he had us write a paper. But it was just, I don't know why, but anyway, I did a paper called The Fountain of Youth. And the whole paper was about you exercising and taking care of your body is the closest thing to the fountain of youth that you'll ever be able to walk into. And the premises of the paper was that you being in shape and healthy will not stop you from being sick. But I guarantee you on everything in me that you will heal faster than somebody that is unhealthy.
Wow. And you wrote that in college? Wow.
This was before I even got into training or anything. I was just working out on my own, but I knew how it made me feel. And when I would get the common cold or the flu, I was still able to function. Where I was seeing most people at the work, they was missing weeks on end from having flu or pneumonia. I might be off for a day, maybe 2 at the most, and then I'm back to work and I'm fine. So no, being in shape doesn't stop you from being sick, but it will help you heal faster and be able to deal with whatever situation medically you have.
And you're talking about someone who has underwent 20 plus surgeries.
Yes.
I mean, over the course of what, 10 to
10, 12
15
years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, and just seeing you, I just saw somebody post a video of them in the gym and I saw you in the background and I'm like, how is he in there right now? I'm like, he just told me he was going to the doctor last week.
Yes.
But you're still in there and you're recovering. So what have your doctors said about it? I mean, I know you talked about being, the fountain of youth, but what have your doctors said about your recovery?
Most of them are honestly amazed. Most of them are like, just be careful. But always the funniest thing to me is don't lift heavy. And I always ask them, well, what is heavy? Nobody can tell me what is heavy. So, but for the most part, is I've gotten a lot of different reactions. Some in amazement, some in shock, and some like just you different. I don't know if I'm different, but I do know what my beliefs are and who I trust in. But I also know that if you let anything take you, it'll take you. You have the choice and the right to say yes or no, even to yourself. But so many of us will give in to something that we feel is hard or too much, because it's hard for people to ask for help. So it's easier for you to just say, okay, I'm going to sit here and waddle, versus asking, hey, I'm having trouble, I need some help. And asking for help is not always going into full detail of what the issue is or how bad it's affecting you. asking for help is just asking for help. Hey, I need help right now. I need somebody to talk to. And I've never had that issue.
But you know what just kind of came to my mind, though, was you talking about childhood, though, and having kind of the aggression towards men. So at what point were you able to ask for help from a male or from a man?
When I started playing football.
That was the point.
That was the first man Yep. In my 7th grade year, Coach James.
That was the first thing. Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
Yep.
Ask for help.
Yep.
So eventually you do start to bodybuild.
Yes.
And you get competition ready. How was that experience? And how was that experience also for your family? Because I had a friend who her dad also had trained, but they would have to eat the same way that he did. So did you make your family do that?
Thankful to me, I love to cook.
Okay.
And I know how to cook. But for me, my wife and my kids, they would run with it for so long. And then they were like, okay, enough of this. You need to do what you're doing. We're not eating this no more. And most times they would hang with me for about 6 to 8 weeks. And it was during those 6 to 8 weeks that it was the critical time for my diet. So it all worked out. I never had a problem cooking my food and their food, or either I would cook my food and my wife would cook her food or their food for her and my children. So no, I've never forced because I know this is not what you're doing. And two, for you to force a female about eating or working out, all y'all hear is you calling me fat or you don't think I'm attractive anymore. So I've always stayed away from that force issue about working out or eating. So, but no, I've never, because I knew it was me. I knew it wasn't something they wanted to do. But also, fortunately for me, all my daughters, they would sit and just eat whatever I was eating. They didn't care. So they would come sit next to me and just pull off my plate. Or I would make food thinking it would just be for me, and then I go back and looking for it, and there was no more because everybody sat there and ate it. So, but no, I've never had to force or never did think to force them to get into what I do or eat the way I eat. They all just gravitated to the gym with me because it was where I was at. And they knew if they wanted me, that's where I would be at. So they would come to the gym sometimes and just sit there and talk while I worked out.
You spend a lot of time in the gym.
Yes, I do.
I mean, that photo kind of, like, how long did that package take to build?
I really didn't start seeing any serious muscle growth until after about 5 or 6 years of lifting and eating.
Okay.
It takes time. It takes time. And then, too, because, like I said, a lot of people, and I was like this, too, when I first started working out, I was doing it because, like I said, I was pushed into it, but then I fell in love with it. But once I fell in love with it, I realized that I can eat as much in anything I wanted to eat and not get too much overweight. So a lot of people, that's how they start in the gym. Either they're starting trying to lose weight or they're trying to build muscle. But in building muscle, they start eating more, which is keeping the muscle covered. In this photo, this is when I started bodybuilding, and the muscle just was always visible. Okay. But because before I got in bodybuilding, I was just big. I was just a big guy. But when I started bodybuilding, I became big and muscular. Okay. And that's because I just changed the way you eat. Before that, I was eating ding-dongs, Twinkies, Ho-Hos, ice cream, a whole family pack of Oreos because I knew I was going to go burn it. Yeah. So I didn't care. Drinking Slurpees every day, partying every day and all that. Just getting it in. Yeah. Because I knew I was going to be in the gym 2-3 hours, 5-6 days a week. So, but yeah.
What I'm also hearing is like this mindset shift too, though.
Yes.
Like, I mean, because to be able to say, okay, I'm going to change the way I eat, especially given that you were already eating kind of junk food, basically. But that mindset, how did you develop that? Is that just your belief system as well? Is that God? Like, how did that mindset come about?
It started from me being in church all the time because I grew up in church, and just understanding that everything is about discipline. And when I say discipline, I don't mean dictatorship. It's a difference. So in everything, there has to be some kind of discipline in it for you to achieve what you're trying to achieve. No matter how big or small, how important or not important, if you're trying to achieve something, there has to be a degree of discipline in you or around you for you to be able to achieve it. And for me, the discipline was once I step in, I'm all in. There's no wavering for me. I've never been a person like, okay, I'm going to start doing this, and then 2 days later, I'm not doing it no more. If I'm in, I'm all the way in until I reach what I'm trying to get to. So it's like once I stepped into bodybuilding, there was nothing else that mattered to me. And when I say nothing else in the beginning, I mean nothing. Nothing mattered to me.
Yeah.
It was so bad for me that I used to get in arguments if I couldn't go work out.
With who?
My wife.
Okay.
If she wanted something or planned something and it was during that time that I was supposed to be in the gym, it wasn't happening. You can get mad and you'll get over it.
Yeah.
And after a while, I realized, okay, now you're taking this way too far. There has to be balance. So then I learned to balance it out. I was just like, okay, I'll just move the time I worked out or go work out earlier or go work out later.
I like the compromise that you made.
But in the beginning, it was zero compromise. This is what's happening. You're either riding with it or you're not.
So is that stubbornness or highly focused?
That's stubbornness right there. There was no highly focused in that. That was stubbornness and craziness all in one. Yeah.
But I mean, it's the discipline. I mean, it's kind of like who you've always been. It's just this.
I just took it to the
individual.
extreme in that situation.
So are you finding balance now?
Oh,
in your
definitely.
life?
Definitely. I know I can still work out or miss a workout and I'm not going to lose anything.
Okay.
Because that was my mindset. I was like, if I didn't work out, I would lose something. And I also had a mindset that the guy standing next to me on stage, he ain't missing a day. So I can't miss a day. I have to do more than the guy standing to my left and my right.
You never be outworked.
Never be outworked.
Yeah.
I may not be the strongest person in the gym, but there's very few people in the gym that will outwork me.
Is that still today?
Still today, even with all the medical issues I've been through.
That's good. So let me ask you, in your opinion, what do you think is the common challenge that hinders people from starting, a physical fitness journey or their health journey?
Fear and too many people in their ears. And the ear thing creates fear.
When you say too many people in their ear, who are these people or what are they saying?
Well, the most common thing is it don't take all that.
Yeah.
Are you doing too much? And we hear that in all aspects of our lives. But also people telling you that you're okay.
You look good
It
like
looks
that.
good like
Yeah.
that. It looks good on you. You look good in clothes. And the worst thing I've heard somebody say or was told that if they don't love you like that, they don't love you at all. If your spouse is saying something to you about your weight, that means they don't love you or don't care about you. Well, in all actuality, this also depends on how they're saying it to you. It's because they do love you and care about you. Because like I said, it doesn't dictate your health, but it'll definitely affect your health. And also, it's not just the physical health that it messes with. It's an emotional and mental health. And that's when it becomes a spiral, when it starts messing with your mental and emotional. Because then it becomes an excuse thing. The excuse is, I don't have time. I don't have the money. I'm too busy. I'm a single parent. I work all day. I got kids in sports.
If you want an excuse, you can find one.
You'll find
You'll
one.
find one.
You'll find one. They're readily available every day, all day.
Pick which one out this box.
They're readily available.
Yeah.
And I did a conference, a men's conference, and I didn't realize it at the time. And I've never really paid it any attention. But after the conference, most of the guys came up to me and was like, well, I'm sorry, they didn't come up to me. They said it in the class. You're the first person we've heard talk about health and fitness that didn't tell somebody to go work out, to go to the gym. I'm like, that's because you don't have to be in the gym to exercise. You can stay in your house and exercise. Getting up, moving is exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Your body was not made to be stationary. It's made to be moving, to be mobile.
I like that.
It just wasn't. And that's why most of your medical issues and your obesity and your mental issues get amplified, because you're stationary.
Just get up and go. That's it. So what would you say to someone who is considering getting started?
Get started.
Just start.
Get started. But make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Because, and I'm going to look at the camera and say this, because this tends to hurt people's feelings or touch people's nerves. If you're doing trying to get on a weight journey for someone, you're not going to make it. If you're trying to get on a weight loss journey to get in a dress, you're not going to stick with it. Or go on vacation, you're not going to stick with it, and you're going to put the weight on, and most times you're going to put more weight on. If you don't make up your mind for yourself that I need to get this weight off, you'll never stick with, because diets work, people don't work. It's just that simple. People don't work because, well, I'm on a 1,500 calorie diet, but I'll drink a 800 calorie drink and won't count it. A calorie is a calorie is a calorie. They all add up. And if you're not doing anything to get rid of them, they all turn into fat. I don't care how healthy you eat or how unhealthy you eat, you will start putting weight on if you're not getting rid of it.
Get started. Get started. Just move your body.
Just get up and move.
Get up and move.
You don't have to be in the gym 3 or 4 hours like I am. That's not everybody's lane.
Yep.
But get up and do something. Go walking, go running. And if you're a person that say, well, I'm a single parent, use your kids to exercise. That way you're building a relationship and spending time with your kids. Mm-hmm. I used to take my 4-year-old daughter in the baby backpack and go work out with her on my back. If you want it, you will do it. But if you don't, you'll find an excuse that's always ready and available.
It's always ready. I'm just seeing like this box of excuses and I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick up this one today. And that's just like what I hear. But I think you are a testament to just, to show people out there that even with the medical issues that you've experienced, that you still get up and go. And I think what's even more beautiful when you talk about the Fountain of Youth, it's like, this is what's helping you to recover. I think, being able to have this fitness background and your body's like, okay, let's breakdown and it's back up and you're constantly going. Yes. I've never just seen you just sit.
I can't. I mean, I get fussed at by my daughters, my wife all the time. Yeah. Sit down. You're doing too much. You're going to hurt yourself more. I can't. Yeah. I can't.
I don't think it's stopping.
Nope.
Let them know how, or if you got anything else you want to share, any other advice you want to give to the audience, let them know.
Believe in yourself. And when I say believe in yourself, I mean you have to understand that motivation doesn't move you. Dedication doesn't move you. Only thing that moves you is movement. You have to get up and move. And I'm not just talking about getting up and exercising. If you want to start a business, if you want to write a book, if you want to lose the weight, if you want to do anything, you can be motivated all day and sit still even longer. You can be dedicated to your cause in your mind. But until you move, it will never happen. All you're doing is looking at a dream that's staying a dream. So you need to get up and move at whatever you're trying to do.
That's so good. Thank you, Abe. Let them know how they can find you, train with you if you're taking more clients.
Well, I'm Abraham White with Active Faith Fitness. You can locate me on Facebook under Active Faith Fitness or Abraham Fat Boy White on Facebook. Also, I'm on TikTok and Instagram under Abraham Fat Boy White also. And I train out of Coops Iron Works. Shout out to Coops.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.